To get started with your value scale, you are going to need a round paint palette with your color choice, one of the primary colors, or a secondary color that you mix yourself out of two primary colors. I chose red to keep it simple, and you're also going to need white for the tints of this color and black for the shades of this color. And of course, you will need a doggy dish full of water and a clean sponge so that you can properly clean your paintbrush as needed throughout painting. Speaking of paintbrushes, you're going to need a round brush today. It's a shape that looks like this, although our round brushes have a different colored handle, but the shape of the bristles at the end come to a point. And this brush is very versatile and able to make lots of different brush strokes, but we're going to use it today to make an even thick line going vertically up and down the paper. Also, you will need a white rectangle of paper like this turned the horizontal orientation. And let's get ready to start on the left side of the paper, making our first tint of our color. Whenever you mix paint together, you need to make sure that you add a little bit of the darker color to the lighter color. Otherwise, if you try to add the lighter to the darker, it'll take way too much paint to change it. So to make a really light tint of red here, I'm going to take a tiny scoop of my red and I'm going to fully mix it into my white pile. I would never take my white paint and try to mix it up with the red because it would take too much white paint to make a change. Once you've thoroughly mixed your color into the white pile of paint and you don't see any more marbled colors, you just see your new tint of your color, it's time to paint a thick stripe on the very left end of your paper. Make sure to press your round brush down a little bit so that the bristles spread out and it creates a really straight, smooth, thick line. Then clean your brush by rinsing your brush in the water and drawing an X on your sponge. It's time to make another tint of your color, but this time just a little bit darker on the value scale. So take another scoop of your color and fully mix it into the white pile of paint. Once it's thoroughly mixed and you know that you have a darker tint of your color, by comparing it to that first stripe, it's time to press down your round brush to create a nice thick stripe of your new tint. And make sure to slightly overlap the colors and also watch for peekaboo spots. Don't let that white paper show, especially at the ends of your stripes. Go ahead and paint on the table a little bit rather than leave paint off of your paper, right? So let's make a darker tint again of our color by adding a little bit more to our original pile. And once it's all mixed up and darker than the previous stripe on the value scale, then we're ready to paint another stripe. We're going to continue this process until we reach about the center of the paper, and hopefully by the time you've reached the center, you've actually reached your original color. My original color is red, so by the time I reach the middle of this paper, I want my stripes to be red. Another thing to watch out for is that your mixing doesn't get to your original color too quickly. We want to have at least 10 different tints of your color by the time we reach the middle of the paper. And once you have reached the middle of the paper, it's time to switch gears into mixing shades of your color. So shades are any color plus black. And black is a very powerful color of paint. And we need to also make sure that we're mixing 10 different shades of our color by the time we reach the very end of this paper. And that means we need to add black just a little bit at a time. Just a tiny dip of the paintbrush each time will make your shades darker. Once you've got your tiny dip of black, mix it thoroughly into your pile of original color. Mine is red. and go ahead and paint a stripe onto your paper. If at any point your stripes are filled with little specks of white, it's because your paintbrush is actually a little thirsty and it would appreciate a little dip in the water bowl. And then you'll see that your stripe will be nice and neat afterwards. So let's keep adding just a little bit of black each time, overlapping our stripes, and trying to create at least 10 different shades of our color, reaching true black by the very last stripe at the end of our paper. Now that we've finished our practice of mixing tints and shades to create a value scale, it's time to put those skills to use to create one piece of a collaborative mural that will be hanging in the school for all to see. This mural is going to be inspired by the street artist named Jen Stark. Jen Stark works with a psychedelic color palette mixed with a dripping effect to cover large areas like the walls of a building or the ceilings in a room. Jen Stark is known as a public artist or a street artist because most of her artwork is easily seen by anybody walking down the street. And that's going to be the same with our collaborative mural. Anyone in the school walking down the middle school hallway will be able to see and hopefully enjoy our Jen Stark mural. To get started, choose a large piece of white paper and decide on the orientation of your contribution to this mural. You could make a short, wide mural by having your paper horizontally, or you could create a taller piece by flipping your paper vertically. And once you've decided, at the top of your paper, you're going to draw a big dripping shape. And you create this by drawing a really wavy, wiggly, wild line. From here, let's add some more drips, maybe some drips above, maybe some drips below, and start to really see our piece of the mural take shape here. Once you've got a couple big dripping shapes, it's time to fill these up with smaller stripes and lines. And these stripes and lines should echo the main pieces of the drip. Continue adding lines inside of your drip until it's all filled up. Remember that you want your piece of the mural to be nice and big, so make sure that your entire drip design fills up almost all of the paper. And when you're done drawing with a pencil, pick up a Sharpie and trace all of your lines to make your picture stand out. Finally, once your entire piece of your mural is traced, it's time to choose a color, get it on your palette or mix it up with the primary colors, and get black and white ready to go on your palette in order to mix many different tints and shades of your color. Before you start painting, you might want to take an eraser across your paper and get rid of any pencil lines that didn't get traced with Sharpie. And remember, the tip is to erase away from yourself while you hold the paper down, instead of scrubbing back and forth, so that you don't risk ripping or wrinkling your paper. Once your paint splatter is ready to go, take a moment and block out some of your stripes with black. And then start mixing up tints and shades of your main color. That means, remember, tints are your color mixed with white, and then shades are your color mixed with black. While you're painting, remember a couple of important things. Number one, when you're making tints, you need to add the color to the white, not the other way around. When you're mixing shades, you need to add black to your color, not the other way around. And lastly, watch out for mixing up gray instead of the color that you want. Do not start turning a tint into a shade. The white and black are going to mix together, creating gray, and then mixed up with your color choice, it's just going to make a very dull, grayish color. And we want our mural to be bright and beautiful, so keep those tints and shades separate. Once your painting is all dry, it's time to cut around the bottom of your paint drip and hug those curves. Don't leave any white paper showing, and drive your scissors around the bottom edge of the drip. Then you're ready to contribute your piece of our collaborative mural. I will be putting these all together into a big giant mural for all the middle school to see.